What's up, guys, and welcome back here to another quick longevity lifestyle update. Got quite a bit I want to cover today, so we're going to go ahead and get right into it. First things first, just a few days ago on Sunday, I got my first ever Dexa body composition scan with a company called Body Spec. I was really pleased with the process and the ease. I'm going to go ahead and include the link that I used to book in the bio, or in the description, excuse me, in the event that you guys want to go ahead and book. You just type in your zip code and they pull up a list of places that are near you that offer the scan at a very reasonable price. I had done some research and I was getting prices as high as 300 bucks, and this place did it for I think 50 or 60 bucks. Booked an appointment, 7 minutes is the actual scan. Here's a quick clip of the scan. My daughter, my big daughter, my older daughter was holding the camera, so it might be a little bit wobbly. But it was 7 minutes. Right away you have all of the results in a nice PDF document in your email. And yeah, overall it was a great experience, so I highly recommend it. If you guys are curious, you can do this on an annual or semi-annual or even a quarterly basis just to see, get a really detailed summary of what direction your body composition is trending in based on your lifestyle and your habits. So let's go ahead and get into the PDF real quick here. As you can see, the intake weight with clothes on was 189 pounds. And then as we continue to scroll down, my total mass was 186 pounds, 11.5% body fat, 156 pounds of lean tissue, and then 21 pounds of fat. Bone mineral content up here, it says 8.3. And then it goes ahead and it gives you just a chart to kind of compare yourself against, I guess, standards, national standards or global standards, whatever you want to call it. And then it goes on to break down regional assessments, you know, your arms, your leg, your trunk, your android, your gynoid. And I got to research on what the gynoid is and the android. And then it goes on to touch on your visceral or adipose tissue, which is associated with different types of metabolic diseases such as obesity, metabolic syndrome, yada, yada. So it just gives you just internal fat, which I think is really good. And you want to be as low as possible there. Bone density report as well. So mine was 3.3, which it says anything, let's see, the higher the score, the better. It seems that 2.5 was on the higher end, so 3.3, I'm pretty happy with that. And then it goes on to give you just a muscle balance report to make sure that everything is balanced from left to right. So I'm pretty balanced across the board there. And then it gives you, it charts the different regions of your body to set a baseline so that every time you come on in, it's going to continue to add to that chart, and you can see again what direction you're trending in on a very neat graph. And it just goes down the entire list there of arms, legs, all that good stuff. So overall, very happy with the experience. I'm going to continue to keep doing that, like I said, on a quarterly or semi-annual basis, depending on how much I feel I change. And I'll definitely update that with you guys every time I do. Now, 15 minutes prior to my Dexa scan, I went ahead and did an InBody at my gym because that's the standard that we use at my facility. And the InBody report showed that I was 2 pounds lighter and 2 body fat points less. So pretty close in terms of accuracy with the InBody and the Dexa being the gold standard. So I'm happy with that margin or that gap between the two. And like I said, this was 15 minutes prior, so really not much time in between for my body to change. And it also gives you a breakdown of a segmental analysis of right arm, left leg, and all that good stuff to see where the fat and where the tissue is broken down in the body. And then it also gives you a history on the InBody as well. We're looking into, at my facility, the training loft here in Los Angeles, we're looking into potentially getting a Dexa. The owners of that facility are doing a phenomenal job at just adding supportive components to the training element of that. So that's one of the things that we're looking into getting. But it's nice to know that the InBody is relatively close to the gold standard, which again is the Dexa. So that's my experience. And as I was doing this, as I was going through this and reading these results, I was a little bit surprised. Well, not surprised, but I wanted to come in under 10%. That's for the most part where I've lived. Right around 10%, if not under. And here's a quick shot of just a visual of me and what I'm looking like right now at that 11.5%. A little bit surprised that I was over 10. But again, I haven't been running sprints And I think that's a big component of it. It's been the park near my house that I used to walk to and run my sprints is closed. So not running sprints 2 or 3 times a week has probably contributed to that. And also the high fat content that I've been eating over the month of January for the carnivore potentially contributed to that too. So I'm probably gonna do this sometime within the next 3 or 4 months again and just see how my adjustments from a nutrition standpoint and how I've continued to train, how that changes things. But it got me thinking about the metrics that I use to measure success. And historically, it's been how I feel on a day-to-day basis, how I feel first thing in the morning when I wake up. You know, what kind of energy do I have first thing in the morning when I wake up? What kind of energy do I carry throughout my day? The mood that I'm in, you know, what kind of energy do I carry with my clients, with my training sessions, with my kids? That to me is a big measure of success. But then there's also physical elements of it, body composition, body fat, muscle tone, how I feel and how I fit in my clothes, how I feel in my body, the weight that I'm able to push. So there's different metrics for success, and I was just curious as to what your metrics for success are. How do you characterize success in your lives? Is it one of those metrics that I just mentioned? Is it something different? Please let me know in the comments below, because in today's world, it's very easy to use inappropriate measuring sticks when it comes to your success. Whether you're comparing yourself to somebody else that you know, or you're comparing yourself to the infinite multitude of people on social media, it can get pretty toxic. It can get pretty negative, and you can beat yourself up a lot. I'm sure I've been a culprit of that in my life, of looking at someone and being like, damn, you know, my training is this way, my nutrition is this way, why don't I look that way? Whatever it is. So it's important to just be aware of your values and how you measure success and how that reflects your internal state, and hold yourself accountable to the right measuring stick. You know, use the appropriate metrics to measure your success. So please share in the comments below how you measure your success in life. All right, moving on. Nutrition this week. Broth and smoothies have been a staple, whether it's in the morning first thing with my clients or later on in the day. Sometimes I have afternoon clients from 4 to 7 p.m. and I sometimes will drink the broth and the smoothie at that point, but it's been consistent across the board. And the big addition that I made this week is I got back to making sourdough bread. Delicious. If you're going to have bread, I highly recommend you invest in making your own sourdough bread. The reason being is that the fermentation and the proofing process of the flour processes aspects and components of that flour that the body cannot process, and it really cranks up the nutrient density. And we'll dive in a little bit deeper into that in just a second. But when you're buying store-bought bread, because of the fashion that the bread is produced, they don't give that flour an opportunity to ferment and to proof, and they add nutritional yeast to speed up that process. And the reality is the body cannot process some of those ingredients, that some of the proteins and aspects of the flour. So in my case, now that I haven't eaten store-bought bread in a while, if I go eat bread at a restaurant, or if I go eat bread from the store, I get a heartburn sensation, and then my stomach starts to bark at me a little bit. So if you're going to have bread, please make sure it is sourdough bread, either that you got at the store, and they don't have a long shelf life, so you want to make sure that it was baked that day or maybe the day before, but it should only have sourdough starter, water, sea salt, and the flour. That should only be the only ingredients. And like I said, it doesn't have a long shelf life, so you're gonna wanna eat it within 3 or 4 days of purchasing it or baking it. The next step on top of that is actually buying your wheat berries from a trusted, reputable source, grinding them yourself, and then proceeding with the process. Because the reality is that when you grind wheat berries down into flour, the nutrients begins to deplete very rapidly. So if you're buying, and this is the current state that I'm at, I need to adjust my practice, but if you're buying flour from the store, the flour that's in that bag is more than likely dead nutrients because it was ground weeks or even months prior to you purchasing it. So you need to ideally get some wheat berries, throw them in a Vitamix, which is what I'm gonna start doing, and then using that flour to make your bread. It's a little bit of a process, but again, we are investing in our long-term health, right? We're not just settling for convenience. We want to be strong and healthy and create a culture of health within our families for the long term. So in my opinion, it's a very easy investment. The toughest part is making the initial starter. It's a bit of a process. My mom made me my starter and brought it to me from Florida, and I've just been keeping it alive. But I'm gonna go ahead, in the next update, I'm gonna make it a point to include a video on how to make a starter. In fact, I'll probably include it in the description of this video of how to make your starter. And then in the next update, I'm gonna just share with you my process for taking that starter and putting it together with the other ingredients to make your bread. So long spiel, but I think it's really important, again, for the long-term health that we start to make these choices and put these things into play now. All that to the side, that's what I've been eating a lot of for breakfast this week, whether it's been with just toast, eggs, and bacon, or bacon grilled cheeses with some delicious microgreens. That's been the majority of my breakfast this week. Lunch has been eaten out quite a bit. I've just been in jams, or we just didn't want to cook, or whatever the case is. On Super Bowl Sunday, we had a pizza from a local pizza place called Pizzana. They do use fresh stone ground flour that has been fermented and proofed in the whole 9 yards. They use good quality tomatoes, good quality meats, so I'm happy with that. And you know, when I eat the pizza, I don't feel any kind of heartburn or any kind of stomach drama, so I know that it's decent quality. Some other lunch options eating out this week have been In-N-Out. I go with my daughter on Fridays, and I have my 3 Flying Dutchmen. And a couple of times this week I've had a meal from a local juicery and restaurant called Creation. They have a farm here in California, and they produce a lot of their ingredients, and they hold themselves to very high standards. So I had a protein smoothie and just a chicken salad from them this week, as well as just my sushi, my go-to sushi spot. One of the local markets here, they have ready-to-go sushi, so I've eaten that. And then dinners have been pretty consistent with what it was in January. Tuna salad on my sourdough bread with some microgreens one night. We had lamb chops another night. We've also had some pork sausage. I've been eating a lot more avocado as well. And then also a couple of steaks that I just didn't remember to get clips of. But more often than not, if we don't have much going on, I just ask my wife to make me a steak on the skillet, and that gets the job done. And let's see. Apart from that, training. So training has been awesome this week. I did some heavy deadlifts. I had checked in with my barbell conventional deadlift this week and was able to pull 3 plates, 315 for 5 reps. And I'm gonna continue to practice that once a week moving forward to see, to work my way back up to 4 plates, which is the most I've ever done. Moving around with a heavy Viper. I love that tool. Let me know in the comments if you guys have ever used Viper Pros. Phenomenal way to load 3-dimensional patterns and create strength in odd positions and in long positions. So I was able to move around a heavy Viper this week, and also just got some other basic patterns, overhead presses with my kettlebell, rear foot elevated split squats, one of my favorite ones, and then also some dumbbell and some cable work for upper body at another facility that I coach at. So training is also feeling good, and I'm gonna continue to amp it up in terms of the load. I wanna just start to push myself in terms of strength. In the past, historically, I've always felt really good when I've trained heavy for low reps. So I'm gonna start to gear back into that direction. You know, 3, 5, 6 reps max. And then some days I'll do as high as 8, but that'll be it for now. Apart from that, not much else to report. I think I got everything in that I wanted to get in. Link for the smoothie, the broth, and I'm gonna also try and put the starter recipe to how to make your starter for your sourdough bread in the description below. If you guys have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate. Drop them in the comment section below. I'm here to connect with you guys, to share my experience, but also to learn from yours. And yeah, I look forward to catching you guys in the very next update.